Hey friends, today we're talking about volume. Volume is what space a figure takes up, okay? How much it occupies. So imagine an empty room and it's rectangular and you're placing a bunch of square cubed boxes filling up the area. That's volume. It's the amount of space that it takes up. So go ahead and make sure you have this formula. Volume is the length times the width, or the area of the bottom of a shape, times its height. So again, if you came in this rectangular room and you filled up this entire bottoms area, the length times the width, and then you started, after you filled up the bottoms area, you started stacking your boxes up until the ceiling. That would be times the height. Okay, so if we wanted to find the volume of this rectangular prism, we write the formula, the length times the width times the height, and we fill it in. The length times the width, or the area of the bottom, which is 5 times 4, times the height, which is 3. Okay, so when we get this, we get 5 times 4 is 20, times 3 is 60. And if we look at these aren't just 5, they're 5 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 3 centimeters. So this time we're taking a centimeter times a centimeter times a centimeter. Well, before with area, we said a centimeter times a centimeter is a centimeter squared. So if we take it times a centimeter again, it's a centimeter cubed. So our volume would be 60 cubed centimeters. Okay, you try this one. I'll be back in just a second to show you the answer. Make sure that you have your formula, your work, and an answer with a label or fois. Okay, here's the answer. The formula is, which is length times width times height. So you plug in all of your numbers, the length, the width, and the height, and multiply them together, and you get 142.5 or 5/10, and these are meters cubed. Okay, let's look at this one. The volume of a rectangular prism is 270 centimeters cubed. If the length is 6 and the width is 5, what's the height? Okay, let's plug in what we know. We know the formula for a volume of a rectangular prism, so let's write it. So let's fill in what we know. We know the volume. We know the length is 6, the width is 5, but we don't know the height. So now let's simplify what we know. We know 6 times 5 is 30, times h is 30h. And we know that equals 270. So the question is, what number times 270 gives you, what number times 30 gives you 270? So divide 270 by 30, and we get the height as being 9. And these are 9 centimeters. Okay, because if you think about this, you're dividing centimeters cubed by centimeters squared, so you're left with just centimeters. And think about when you measure yourself, if you're measuring your height, you never would measure yourself in cubes. Okay, you try this one. I'll be back in just a second to show you the answer. Write down the formula, plug in what you know, and then go from there. All right, so I'm going to show you what I did. Okay, here we go. I plugged in my width and my height, and my unknown is my length, and I plugged in my volume is 198. So 33 times my length, if we divide on both sides, that'll give us what the 198 divided by 33 is 6 centimeters. So that's my length. Okay, so what if we want a triangular prism? We take the area of its base, which is a triangle, and multiply it by the height. Think if we had a triangular room. You'd fill up all of the boxes in the triangle's space and then multiply it by your height. So make sure that you have this one written down. This time it's triangular prism. Okay, so let's look at an example. Find the volume of a triangular prism. Okay, so we need to think about what's its base. The base of this is a triangle. So our formula is the area's base times the height. Well, in this case, its base is a triangle. So we take its base times its height and we divide it by 2, and then we take the actual height of the shape. Okay, so this whole figure's height, not just this triangle. So let's focus in on the triangle first. 6 times 8 would be the area of the triangle divided by 2. So when we do this one, we get 48 cut in half, which is 24. Now we need to multiply it by the entire height of the shape. Okay, if this is hard for you to envision, you can take your paper and rotate it like so. You can think about this as being the base and this as being the height. Okay, you don't have to think about it sitting on its side if you don't want to. So times the height, which would be 9. So 24 times 9 is 216, and these would be feet cubed for the volume. Okay, you try this one. Go ahead and pause the video. I'll be back in just a second to show you the answer. Okay, so don't forget to write the formula, which is the big base times the height. And the big base of this one, if you would rotate the figure, is a triangle. Okay, so the area of a triangle is its base times its height cut in half. The base times the height would be 20, divided by 2 would be 10. So we have to take now the whole figure's height, which would be 7. So the volume would be 70 inches cubed. Try another one. Go ahead and pause the video and try this one. I'll be back in just a second to show you the answer. Okay, here we go. The volume is its base's area times the whole figure's height. So if we look at this one, the base would be a triangle, and the height would be 6 yards. So 7 times 3 is 21, cut that in half is 10.5, times 6 is 63 yards cubed. All right, I want to leave you with this one. Think about which lunchbox would hold more. Okay, let's go back to a rectangular prism. Volume is always the big base times the height. In this case, it's a rectangle, which is the length times the width, and then the height would be just the height of the shape. So go ahead and compare these two. I'll be back in just a second to show you which lunchbox I would choose. Okay, here we go. I would choose B, because if you take the length times the width times the height, you get 285 inches cubed, while for A, you only get 281 and 25 inches cubed. So B would be my winner in that case. And that's all I've got for you today. I'll see you next time, guys.